Welcome back to the 10-minute Bitcoin show. We're going to get you out of here before the next block. We're in Clown College, guys. I'm Professor Clown, but you can call me Dr. Clown. We're educating the masses here today on the 10-minute Bitcoin show. I'm tired of these weird posers, dude. All these influencers, they're so stupid. I don't know what it is. Okay, look, I'm not trying to be disparaging. We're positive here on the 10-minute Bitcoin show. We're educators. Let's look at this tweet from Naval. It says, in 1971, money changed from a natural system, gold, to a socialist system, fiat. Crypto is tech to replace socialist money with a free market system. Market systems are inherently competitive, and as tech evolves, new monies will continue to emerge to challenge existing ones. Okay, whatever. You lost me at the first sentence there, Naval, if that is your real name. Let's dig into this a little bit, because in my endless adventure to define words and use them as how they're meant, let's talk about what the word fiat means. Well, because just the other day, I got into this conversation with Hans Gruber here, who took issue with the fact that I said that bimetallism was fiat. He says that that makes no logical sense. It makes no logical sense that bimetallism is fiat. After all, if we take Naval's framing here, money changed in 1971 from a natural system of gold to a socialist system of fiat. Guys, this is like brain rot framing. This is so freaking stupid. And this is where you end up. This is where you end up when you don't understand what words mean. Let's define the word fiat. What does the word fiat mean? The word fiat means an arbitrary order or decree, an authorization or a sanction, an authoritative command or order to do something, an effectual decree. Okay. Fiat means an edict. Fiat means a diktat. Fiat means a law. It means an order. It means something that you have to do because the state or the king or whatever says that you have to do it. I don't know where we got, somehow we lost the plot. We lost the plot and started calling anything pre-1971 like free market, wonderful, perfect, excellent, go hard money standard. And then anything after 1971 became fiat or socialism, according to Naval. This is just wrong. The United States was on a gold standard from around the time of the end of the Civil War up until 1971, but that was still a fiat system. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you want to know what I mean by that, go and look at the price of gold in the Bretton Woods system. The price of gold did not change throughout the entirety of the Bretton Woods system because the price was set by decree. This is a fiat system, guys. And this is called price fixing. If you know anything about economics, you would know that you can't fix prices in a market without running out of the thing, right? You can't fix prices in a market without running out of the thing, because price is simply the intersection of supply and demand between producers and people who want to buy the thing. And if you don't let price adjust to meet supply and demand, then you run out of the thing. It's that simple. Or you don't sell any of the thing if you set the price too high. But guys, the United States monetary system, from its inception all the way back to 1792, we were on a bimetallism standard from 1792 all the way up until 1853 or 53 or 73, whatever point they started to demonetize silver. I'm not as up to date on this stuff as I used to be, guys. Bimetallism requires a fixed ratio of exchange. That means that what bimetallism does is fix the price of gold. Okay? In 1792, when the United States established its bimetallism standard, it fixed the price of gold at 15 to 1 silver to gold. What that means is if you wanted gold, you had to have 15 pieces of silver. That's a price for gold in silver. In 1834, the United States government changed the price of gold. That price of gold was the same in the United States from 1792, established by the Coinage Act of 1792, up until the Coinage Act of 1834, when the United States government, by decree, changed the price of gold from 15 to 1 to 16 to 1. They effectively made gold a little bit more expensive. Now, instead of needing 15 pieces of silver to get gold, you needed 16 pieces of silver to get gold. This is price fixing, guys. And look, I'm not necessarily disparaging, but the United States had a pretty well priced bimetallic system throughout these years of its time, but it had its issues. They were constantly running into problems where gold was flowing out of the country or silver was flowing out of the country, or too much of, like, if you don't set the price right, you end up creating arbitrage. So anytime you're price fixing, if you're not fixing the price really close to like what the market prefers, then you're creating a situation where you're making something artificially cheap for someone, right? And this is actually exactly what happened in 1860 when Japan opened its borders to international trade for the first time in the modern world. Like the feudal nation of Japan was pretty isolated from the modern world up until the Roosevelt took his Great White Fleet up and opened up Japan or whatever it was. I don't know. I'm not super familiar with exactly that history, but what I do know is that in 1860, the Empire of Japan opened its borders up to free and unregulated global trade. And at the time, because they were so cordoned off from the rest of the world in terms of like global commerce, they had really wacky pricing in their country, and they were pricing gold at 5 pieces of silver to 1. So the rest of the world at the time, and the United States by law, was pricing it at 16 to 1. So basically, you could take 5 pieces of silver, take them to Japan, buy 1 piece of gold, and you're making 200% profit there, guys. So you can imagine what happened. Everybody and their brother went to Japan with all of the silver they could find, bought all of the gold, and 4 million gold rios, which was the name of the Japanese coin, left the country. This was 70 tons of gold got taken out of Japan very shortly after they opened up their borders to global trade. And it was because they had fixed the price of gold in their country way too cheap. And they didn't have enough information to set that price accordingly. And they didn't do it quickly enough. You know, eventually the Bakufu responded by debasing the gold content of the Rio. And you can see in this like photograph here how right after they opened their borders to global trade, they had to make their gold coin way smaller. And it was because they didn't have gold anymore, but they were also adjusting the exchange rate that they had in their country between gold and silver to something that was more realistically matching the prices that were set by the rest of the world. But when I say that bimetallism is fiat, this breaks people's brains, right? It breaks people's brains for me to say that Bretton Woods was fiat. Fiat means by decree. And if you're fixing the price of a thing, whether you're fixing the price in silver, whether you're fixing the price in dollars, it doesn't matter, right? Bimetallism was just fixing the price of gold in silver. Bretton Woods was fixing the price of gold in dollars. It's a fixed peg, and the peg is set by law. That's a fiat monetary system, guys. And I'm not saying that wasn't in many respects better than the system that we have today, but you need to call a thing what it is, right? You have to pay attention to what words mean. And if you don't know what words mean and you're arguing with people about like the technical details of a thing, what are you actually doing? Like, you're not accomplishing anything if you don't know what fiat is and you don't know what bimetallism is, and you're arguing that bimetallism was not fiat simply because it involved gold and silver instead of irredeemable pieces of paper. You're never going to understand the problem unless you understand, like, or at the very least, I don't know, I take issue with people who refuse to clearly define words. 9 times out of 10, they're being dishonest. So I don't know what that's about. But that's okay. You know, go and read this article that I wrote years ago. I'll link to it. It's from my blog. I wrote it back originally, I think in 2021. It was originally published in Bitcoin Magazine in 2021, but I have it up on Fiat Lux if you want to see it ad-free. So go read it, or up on WTF 1971 if you want to see it ad-free. So go read it there. I'll put it in the show notes. If you really want to dig into this topic of like what fiat is and what a fiat monetary system looks like. But we're doomed to repeat history, guys, if we don't understand the lessons of the past. Bitcoin has no peg, right? Bitcoin is a free and open source monetary protocol, and the market determines the price of the specie or the underlying asset. This is why it's different.